and welcome to everybody. This is Ibrox Wednesday Bulletin. I'm joined by Chris. How are you getting on today, Chris?
How you doing, lads? Thanks for having us.
And our very own Rhys Cochrane. I'm sure this will be as exciting as always. Rhys, how are you getting on?
Aye, all right, mate. All good. Just counting down the days.
I know, that's it, exactly. Well, there's plenty to be talking about today. A lot's happened since we were last live on Monday. We've got the Calvin Bassey, that's him officially off to Ajax for a deal worth 23 up to 26.5 million euros in add-ons and a 10% sell-on clause that came direct from the Ajax website, which I thought was quite funny. We've also brought in Ben Davies from Liverpool. That's a reported fee of 3 million with 1 million in add-ons. Rangers were hot on and off the pitch yesterday, defeating West Ham in a 3-1 friendly. And as I'm sure pretty much all I've spoken about today to a lot of Rangers supporters is the news of the BBC statements. But before we get into all that, I always like to start off with a wee on this day. And on this day, we signed Martin Waghorn and James Tavernier for 200 grand from Wigan. I remember Tav's first game against Burnley. And he stood out like a sore thumb, but I suppose that wouldn't be hard to do given that Danny Wilson and Rob Kiernan and Nicky Law were in that team. But he's gone on to score 90 goals, 116 assists in all the time he's been at Rangers. What would it have mean to you then, Rhys?
He's been brilliant for he signed. I think it's quite telling that him and Waghorn were both signed, and I think Waghorn probably get the most excitement among the fans just because he was a striker and stuff. But Tav's had a brilliant time at Rangers in 7 years he's been. I can't believe it's 7 years. And I think he's went from playing with the likes of Dean Shields to guys like Ryan Kent and Morelos, and obviously we've just sold a player for 23 million who played in the same team as Tav. You could never have thought that at the time. But he started like a house on fire. I remember the Hibs game as well. I'm sure he scored a couple and that free kick, and he started like a house on fire and he's been brilliant ever since. Waghorn, not so much.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. But yeah, I don't think anybody would have predicted that he would have gone on to have the career that he's had at Rangers. Right, we'll get stuck into it then. Give me a couple of minutes to get these statements out the way. The BBC, and I could not believe it that the BBC released a statement on their Twitter. Says a disagreement between BBC Scotland and Rangers FC has limited the BBC's ability to report from Ibrox Stadium over a long period of time. BBC and Rangers FC have now agreed that this is in the best interest of the BBC's audience and Rangers supporters everywhere for the BBC and the club to resolve the dispute and provide the fullest possible coverage for all Rangers matches. The BBC is committed to reporting the Scottish Premiership fully and fairly across all clubs, however, recognises that the club has genuine concerns about accuracy and balance of some coverage. BBC acknowledges that there have been occasions when parts of the coverage and Rangers FC have not met its editorial standards. It has apologised for those instances and is happy to apologise now. We look forward to a positive and ongoing relationship with the club. And then Rangers put out a statement tweeting or retweeting that, saying we acknowledge the recognition of the past errors and an apology from the BBC Scotland and the recent apology from Michael Stewart. Reporting on football matches at Ibrox will recommence at the beginning of the season 22-23. That's quite it's quite something, I think, for the publicly funded national broadcaster to be coming out and apologising, especially after all these repeated years of Rangers saying that we're not happy with the coverage. To my knowledge, that we didn't ever ban anybody, we just withdrew press access, I think, for an individual, and this was sort of self-imposed by the BBC. So firstly, what do you think of that hellier statement from the BBC, Chris?
Everybody wants a bit of Rangers. Yeah. In all seriousness, it's about time they back down and recognise the error of their ways. I think we were in the Europa League draw and they've not had any access to like any of that last season. It's a good victory for the board, but I'm a bit sceptical. See how it goes next season, I think. But for a national broadcaster, as you said, to come out and have to say that they've been unfair treating one of the top two teams in the country, then it's no met ethical standards either. It's just a farce of it. But as I said, it's a good victory for the board, and they've backed down big time to us.
Yeah, and Rhys, what's your thoughts on this? Do you think that the Rangers board, King and Park maybe in particular, do you think they've been vindicated in their criticism and the stance that we've taken against the BBC recently?
See, to be honest with you, I'm not too clued up on what the dispute was between Rangers and the BBC. I just remember the march at Hampden about the Bias Broadcasting Corporation that was on the big picket sign, but there was that, and then I've never really been a fan of Chris McLaughlin. I'll name check him because I think he was the individual that was banned from Ibrox as a member of the BBC, and I always found it funny that he would be standing like across the road at the wee pitch, like reporting from outside on what was going on inside, and never had access. So it was quite funny in that regard. But it's bridges have been built again, and it's just going to help us promote the club on a bigger platform. And see, to be honest, that's appealing to sponsors and stuff like that as well. So if we can get on more platforms and grow as a brand, then it'll help us out in the long run. I'm sure James Bisgrove's somewhere rubbing his hands together,
Yeah. I mean, it's a difficult because I always remember like growing up listening to the BBC, especially for coverage of the games and especially sometimes post-match analysis. But I don't know, Chris. I mean, I've got my cousin's husband down in England. He's well into football, big Newcastle supporter, and every time I'm talking to him about it, especially during the Gerrard reign, he was stunned that there was never interviews with Gerrard and the BBC, and like it's crazy, isn't it? Even talking about it, that wasn't happening. So I mean, are you positive about this? Do you think it can it benefit Rangers that we have the BBC back in, or are you still slightly sceptical that maybe some of the people that they've said, the coverage wasn't accurate and it wasn't ethical? Are they still going to be commenting in Rangers games going forward? What's your thoughts on that?
I'm still sceptical, but obviously it's down to the individuals. It can only be good for us if they are going to give us fair reporting, and it obviously gives us more publicity in that. I think the BBC is more for the older generation. I think that'll help the older generation that get tuned in that. I used to enjoy listening to Rangers if you're driving somewhere on BBC Scotland, but now it's like for years now you're driving along, no mention. It's as though we were never ever in the week. So hopefully men's bridges, as Rhys said. Yeah,
hopefully it does, and we can move forward from what I think has been quite an embarrassing affair from the BBC. So, Rhys, we'll come to you in this one. The last night Rangers played West Ham in a friendly. They were defeated 3-1. We'll maybe touch on the first half a wee bit. What was your thinking in general in terms of the starting 11 for Rangers, and how do you think the Rangers played in that first half?
I liked it. It seemed that we were going with a really strong team. It looked like wouldn't it be a kicking the backside away for what will be our starting 11 against Livingston. I think G alluded to that in his presser after it. But if that is to be the starting 11, then I'd be pretty worried because the first half was diabolical. I mean, I had my pal texting me saying, get Jack and Wright back to Aberdeen. And I thought Ryan Jack had been exposed in the press or something the way he was going on about it. But
yeah,
no, I think it was just a poor first half. Wright and Jack didn't impress. And when they were both replaced at half time, I think it's quite telling that we went on and battered them. And the players that stepped in their place, new signings, was good to see that it worked out quite well for us.
Chris, we'll stick with that first half. A player that I particularly want to talk about is John Souttar. Obviously, he played in the left side of central defence. What was your thoughts on how he played in that first half yesterday? Do you think he did well? Do you think there's room for improvement? Were you impressed by what you saw of him?
I think he was okay in spells. I think the Antonio chance, I don't know what was going on with the centre-backs there. Looked so much room.
Yeah,
he had between them. I'm not sure what was going on. Quite like the idea of seeing the two of them together, and I thought him and Borna linked up quite well down the left.
Yeah.
But I think he's maybe got a bit of a competition with Sands for that third choice for me. I think. Yeah. I know a lot of people are saying Souttar's coming in, but I think obviously we'll talk about Davies later on. I don't think we're spending that kind of money on a centre back and no playing him. So I think Souttar could be competing with Sands for the third spot.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that one. That's certainly something I think we'll come to later on. Reece, we'll stick. I know we'll stick just with the first half. I think in that, and a player that Chris mentioned yesterday. Obviously, Bassey's onto pastures new at Ajax, but we seem to have a a bit of a new left back yesterday. I saw a West Ham fan account tweeting who's this left back for Rangers because he looks quite tidy. What's your thoughts on Borna Barisic, and do you think that goal in the Blackpool game's done him the world of good?
I seen the tweet. I think it was the guy was quoting Michael Jackson. I think he was saying he looks like a player and all that, and he looks good. And it was a bit like right, okay, but it was a good performance for Borna last night. He seems to really be getting back into his confidence, and a lot's been made about him being a confidence player. Obviously, that nightmare at Sharkhead last season, but he seems to be kicking into gear again. I don't know if it's maybe having more Croatians in the dressing room just with the arrival of Colak and stuff. So it could be that Katic is back as well. They've got the band back together and we're going to have some wee clique in the squad. But I think he's looked good. And just to touch on Chris's point, I was watching the game last night going, who's at left centre back? I think I wrote in our chat, who is it? Because I thought, is that Souttar? He looks quite good. And no, it looks too lean to be Souttar. It was Sands, who I spent the entirety of last season slaughtering, saying send them back and all that. He was useless, but looked quite tidy last night. But Borna was probably one of the standouts in the first half, and looked a really good player last night.
Yeah, and based on what you said there and how well he played, do you think that we need cover for that left back position, or would you be happy going into the new season with just Borna Barisic, please?
No, I wouldn't be happy just with him at left back. I think at least cover maybe somebody to grow into the role the way Bassey done. Maybe know somebody to knock him out of the starting 11 straight away. But then again, for what we're seeing today that we'll touch on later on, it could be happening. I don't think we're going to spend money on a player like Chris says about Davies on a left back and he doesn't replace Borna, because I've said for ages, Barisic's defending in previous seasons has just looked like, can I stand halfway between pressing and sitting off and just hope the ball hits you? Like he just kind of stands there and freezes like as if, right, hit me with it now.
Yeah.
And half the time it doesn't work, half the time it does. But guy's delivery's spot on. So if you're attacking and you've got the ball all the time, ideal, play Borna. But if you're defending, he's no ideal.
Yeah, we've got a couple of comments coming here on the live chat. Cameron Moran says Borna could open a tin of beans with his left leg, but he's not got the mentality. And Paul McGarrigle here says, I nearly knocked down Borna Barisic Thursday afternoon in my Works fan. Well, if Borna put in a performance like that on Tuesday, I think your Works fan would have taken a hell of a dent in it there, Paul. But we'll move on to the second half, Chris. There was 3 subs introduced. We had Lawrence, Matondo and James Sands all came on. Made their impact pretty quickly in terms of what was going on. I know we were sort of briefly talking about it offline. It was the first, I can't remember, was it the first goal where it started off in the left back position for Borna and Sands? What was your thinking behind that goal, and how impressed were you with the way that those guys integrated into the team?
I think it's heart and mouth stuff for it. It's going to be heart and mouth stuff to watch throughout the season. I think John McLaughlin had a couple of dodgy touches in that, but I think with Sands taking the ball and he's beat the press with the wee dink into the middle of the park. I'm not sure who took it, maybe Lundstrom. We've ended up breaking down and getting the goal for it in the line. I think we pinged the ball a bit brilliantly last night. Matondo, which we spoke about it last Wednesday, absolutely rapid, and now we're seeing it in the flesh. I think the one where he nipped in and intercepted the ball, I think the guy had about 5 yards on him and he still beat into the ball. And I think he's got a really good touch for somebody with that pace. Usually when you've got somebody that's that fast, they've got a honking touch, like Sakala as well. But I think last night he took the ball in for Lundstrom. He's brought it down well, played it out wide as well. I think it looked really good.
And Reece, we'll come to you on this. Tom Lawrence, I thought yesterday he was excellent. 2 assists, a goal. I think he's somebody that we've been crying out for a long, long time, just maybe sitting in that 10 position, as Chris alluded to there, that some of the balls that he took in, he was controlling them fantastically and just pinging them out wide just for Matondo to run onto or Tav to run onto. What do you think the impact of Lawrence is going to be in the team next season?
I think it'll be promising if he can continue when it matters, because as with everything in pre-season, you need to take it with a bit of a pinch of salt. I mean, I've seen us beat Chelsea 2-0 in pre-season and then lose the league when we won it. Aye, it was that exact one. We beat them, we went on to lose the league and Chelsea won it down south, so it's a bit temper the expectations a bit, but in first view, and he did look really good. His match experience and match intelligence is probably what's going to help us, and you can tell he's an experienced player. And I was thinking about this morning. I think he's probably one of the only out-and-out winners that we've got in the squad. And you look at the guys we've brought in, a lot of the guys we've got remaining, there's none that really have had success in their career. There's none that have really won a lot, to my knowledge anyway, other than maybe a few. But I think Lawrence has got that bit of grit about him that the likes of Lunchroom have got, that they're not going to play to draw or be satisfied with a draw. They'll be devastated with it. And that's the exact character you need at Rangers that I think we might be lacking at the minute, but hopefully we get integrated into the boys as soon as possible.
Yeah, and Chris, for you, Tom Lawrence, what do you think his impact will be on the team next season? Do you think that we've been lacking that position, that role in the team, somebody that can sort of link up between the defence and the forward? And do you think he'll have a good season?
I think he looked good in the 10 position, but I think he could play deeper. I said that last week too, because he has got that bit of grit about him. He took his goal well last night. It was a good finish. And I think with the runs for the edge of the box, we've been crying out for that for years. Like Lampard just to do it every week. We've not had a player like that for years. Obviously, different class for Lampard, but it's promising now. Yeah,
no, I totally agree. It's I'm really excited by Tom Lawrence. I think he might be this quietly go as maybe the pick of the bunch. I thought yesterday, and I know we'll caveat it with it was a pre-season friendly, albeit against very good opposition, but the way that he was taking things in, and it was the speed of the attack going from forward back to front. I just think he's that wee missing piece in the jigsaw, so to speak. And I think with the fact that we've put pace in the wings, we've got Kent, Matondo, and Sakala, Alfie, Colak, who we'll come on to next. I think it's a really good addition to the squad. Reece, he didn't score. I think he was pretty unfortunate. I can't remember the boy's name for West Ham in the first half, but it was a great recovery tackle. But a lot of the supporters, he got a standing ovation when he came off, was Antonio Colak. How do you think he played last night, and especially his movement off the ball and taking it in? He was just a right nuisance, wasn't he?
He done well. He was for a while. I think it was Agard that was the West Ham boy.
The one, yeah.
25 odd million on him. The guy actually injured himself in the tackle while he was doing it. It was on Sky Sports this morning, and he did prove a bit of a handful. But until he starts scoring, then do you know what I mean? I seen Joe Gardner make himself a handful, but couldn't score either. So it's one of them. He's got to start scoring goals. Obviously, there's no pressure on him today in pre-season. I'd rather he scored 15, 20 in the league than 10 in pre-season. But as I say, it is a work in progress. It will take him time to familiarise with the team, and with the likes of Lawrence and Matondo, I reckon I'll be getting that Welsh flag back up.
Yeah, at least you've got your money's worth out of it anyway, that's for sure. And Chris, do you think that Colak is good enough to spearhead our attack, at least until I'm assuming until Alfie's fit again? Do you think he'll fit well into that system with? I'm going to assume, based on the second half performance, that we will see Matondo and Kent on the wings.
I think I was dying to see him with Kent, Matondo and Lawrence in behind him. I think the first half he was starved of service. He was up there just chasing loose balls. But he presses well. He's going to cause a lot of teams problems with the press. We'll get a lot of goals for that. I think he's took a bit of a hard time online. I've seen folks saying, he's just not good enough already because he's not scored. But if he puts in that work rate every week, he's going to be a fan favourite. He got the standing ovation last night, and I think the goals will come once the season starts. I think he's going to be a decent signing for us. All the Croatian strikers have been decent for us so far.
That's very true. For what it's worth as well, I thought his movement off the ball was absolutely excellent, especially for Ryan Kent's goal. He just drifted 5 yards to the right, and he just created that space for the ball to be played into Lawrence. And I thought it was really, really clever. Although he didn't go on the score sheet, I think he played a part in a couple of the goals last night. Reece, I think the next player that I'm quite keen to talk about, you got the inside scoop on for for this is Ibrox. Maybe gave him a helping hand scoring his debut goal, but Rabbi Matondo, it was quite an impact, wasn't it? It was very obvious from the off when he came on that he had. I heard people talking about him being fast, but I was not expecting him to be that fast, Reece.
My mate Rabbi. I was talking to him the other day. If viewers or listeners are watching, then it'll be on our social media. I met Rabbi Matondo at my work the other day, and I just kind of briefly started talking to him, and it was funny. It was after the Champions League draw. I says to him about USG. I was like, "Are you buzzing with the draw?" And he was like, yeah, it'll be good. Hopefully get through in that. I didn't realise, or it totally slipped my mind, he's actually played against them just last season.
Oh, of course.
Bruges. He was on loan in Belgium, so we've got inside knowledge on them already. But I was saying to him, like, the thing we're missing from a fan's perspective is shooting. Like, we've got so many wingers that will mess about with it and try and pass the ball in too often. Nobody really takes a shot. We've said it plenty of times before, so I was saying to him, just shoot, mate. Something will take a nick or something. We'll get a deflection, whatever. Shoot. And he must have listened to us because he bagged one against West Ham last night. So, good start.
That's it. That's it, exactly. Chris, a couple of things about Rabbi Matondo I'd like to discuss was, other than his pace, was I thought that given how fast he was, his control of the ball was really, really good. Thought, for the Lawrence goal especially, just lifting his head up and just picking the ball out. I think that's something that we've lacked for a wee while. Another thing that I was going to say about him was the goal that he scored, number one. Lawrence they only got an assist for it. There's no chance Lawrence meant that. But for him to be in the box, to have a defender so close to him, to have the wherewithal to realise that it's a slip up, the ball's coming to him, to control it, and then to get the power on the shot from such a short position from his foot being away from the ball. I thought it was an excellent goal, and I thought he had an excellent game in pre-season yesterday.
He's done well to generate that power for that distance. I think just a wee bit of composure in the final third. That's what we've been lacking for at least last season anyway. Just getting into the box, getting his head up and picking a pass rather than just hitting a hopeful ball and hoping somebody's on the end of it. He's lightning, as I was saying earlier. I think when you've got players that fast, sometimes they don't have a touch or they don't know how to use their pace, but he looks as though he knows exactly how to use it. And I thought he did the defensive side quite well last night as well. He chipped in there. It was a pity nobody cemented that Souttar. That was my only disappointment for last night. That and Tab socks. I don't know what's going on there either.
Yeah, that certainly seemed to cause a lot of controversy on Twitter, especially amongst the Rangers Daz. But I'm sure there's a reason for it. We'll find out in behind one of the RTV videos at some point. Graham Brown says in the comments that he says the only we need to sign Usain Bolt as he's the only one that can keep up with Rabbi. I don't think you might be too far away from the truth there. Chris, we'll stick with you on this as well. James Sands was the third of those substitutions to come on. It's the second game in pre-season that we've seen him slot into that left centre-back role. We know that when he was brought over from New York City, Van Bronckhorst discussed it in his pre-match or his press conference when he was unveiled as a signing that he can play centre-half. I think a lot of us expected him to play in the midfield, but I think he's done quite well. I thought in the Blackpool game he was good, had quite a few good touches, and I thought yesterday he didn't look too shabby at all. What's your thinking on Sands, and do you think we're going to see a bit more of him than what we expected at the start of the season?
I like him. I think he's going to be a big player this season. This will be his breakthrough season. I said last year as well, I thought there was a player there, and he got a hard time for the fans, but I think we should be looking at John Lundstrom and giving players a wee bit of time. He's only a young guy. He's coming from across America, totally different style of football. The demands are here in that as well. He looks assured on the ball, can pick a pass out. I thought last night he looked a bit stronger than he maybe looked last year. I think he's bulked up. But I think it was Antonio ran through and he just kind of muscled him off the ball. And look at the size of him. He's bullies Premier League defenders constantly. So I think maybe if we do go to the back three a couple of times this year, I think we'll maybe look that way, and I think he's impressed me more than Souttar so far, I would say. I wouldn't be against making that a permanent move if the price was right.
Yeah, that's interesting. I echo those thoughts. And Reece, I'm actually dying to hear what you're going to say about James Sands, because I know if I remember, you have been a bit critical of him in the past in the WhatsApp group chat. So do you envisage him playing more for Rangers next season at the back? And I know it's something we've talked about in podcasts. I talked about it on the Sunday podcast, about perhaps it's going to more of a back three or a back five next season. What's your thinking on that?
He impressed me last night to the point I was watching it thinking, is that Souttar? No, it's too skinny to be Souttar. I was like, who? I actually wrote in the chat, who's that playing at left centre back? Because I thought he looked good. He looks tidy, but the only thing, the reason I didn't like him in midfield was he was too safe. There was no progression with his passes. And see if he's to sit at centre back and just kind of keep the ball, help us move it to more creative players, or knock it to Goldson for him to ping a diag, then I'm more than happy for him to do that.
Yeah, and not sure exactly what the release clause in it. I've seen figures from 2.5 to 6 million. Reece, I know it's the early and we've not played the full season, but would you be happy to keep a guy like Sands in the team? Would you pay that for him at this moment in time?
Depends how the finances are, mate. I don't think we'll ever find out exactly what it is. It'll be another undisclosed fee, maybe not significantly undisclosed, but it'll be an undisclosed fee for Sands, I think. So it's not coming out of my pocket. If Rangers want him, I'll trust you to back him and sign him. Yeah.
Graham, Brian Harley says Sands was class. He looked calm and could pass the ball. And you know what? I think that's a fairly accurate of him. He looked reassured. Chris, maybe the last player, and I maybe didn't mention this in the bulletin, but I want to talk about Glenn Kamara. I think it was Craig and I, we went to the Red Star game, and that was the first game that I can remember him being pushed a bit more further forward. I thought he played really well yesterday. How do you see Glenn Kamara going forward in the future? And do you think that Gio's going to utilise him in that role in the league and probably in Europe as well?
Didn't until last night. I didn't think he suited Gio's style of play, and I thought he would maybe be the next one at the door, but he was brilliant last night. He just goes about the game, does the easy job, and you just don't really notice how good he is. I think he's one of the players that you only appreciate just how good he is until he has left us. I think Ryan Jack struggled last night. If I'm honest, I think a lot of fans will disagree, but I think he'll struggle this year he'll play his part, but I don't think he's a starter. I wouldn't be against Kamara and Lundstram in there. I thought Kamara, Lundstram and Lawrence looked good as a free. But he was brilliant last night.
Totally agree. And Reece, do you think we'll be seeing Kamara further forward next year in Gio's system?
Hopefully not, because he doesn't shoot. I'd happily have him at the base of midfield. I think he's tidy. What I like about Kamara is he's always turning with the ball. He's a progressor. He'll take the ball off a centre back and turn with it rather than passing it out to a right back. He'll turn with it and drive. He drives us forward. He's not the same as Lundstram. I think, similar to what Chris says, if you've got Lundstram's a ball winner, Kamara to turn with it and progresses forward, and Lawrence to kind of plays that almost luxury 10 and obviously kick a few people while he's there, as he does, then it'll be a well-balanced midfield three. But that's a big shout, saying Ryan Jack's not starting.
Well, I know, but I think last night I just think he looked miles off the pace.
Yeah, for what it's worth, I think it's make or break season for Ryan Jack. Is this his last year on his deal, I think, as well this year? Or has he got 2 years left? But
maybe he'll kick on. I put a hit piece out on him when he was injured, saying like we need a couple of losses if he's not going to play. And within 2 weeks, he was back in the starting lineup and he was brilliant for the rest of the season. So maybe
in Europe.
Maybe we'll hear this podcast and shoot me down again. Hopefully.
You didn't happen to put out a hit piece in Borna Barisic as well, because that seems to have worked a treat too, eh?
No, but I'll put a spin on the Borna thing. I was thinking about it today. Is there a chance he's maybe trying to put his sell in the short window where the transfer market's open?
Well, I hope not, because then that means we'll be looking for two left backs.
As Rangers fans, we never consider that MD wants to leave, but there was talks of him wanting to leave in January, wasn't there? So maybe he's trying to put himself back in the market.
Yeah, but you never know. He'll struggle to get a bigger club than Rangers. So I don't know why you would want to leave. But I suppose that I'll try and smoothly transition this. Speaking from one left back to another, that was announced that Calvin Bassey's officially left for 23 million euros and 3.5 million euros in add-ons. Reece, it's our record ever deal. It's an outstanding piece of business, and I don't think there's a Rangers supporter that's going to wish any ill will in Calvin Bassey. I envision seeing a couple of Bassey 33 tops kicking about Ibrox next year as well. But we wish him all the best, and he's been a fantastic player for Rangers, hasn't he, Reece?
He's been great. I read a tweet earlier on, somebody summing it up. In 2 years, he won the league, the Scottish Cup, played in a European final, and became a record transfer. Who thought that for somebody that was going to go back up left back? Do you know what I mean? Feel sorry for whoever at Leicester let him go. And the Bassey 33 thing, I did text my dad that the day when he sent me it. I thought I might need to get a wee dot with Bassey 33 in the back of it. But big man will do well up there as long as he improves his technique and that. Then if he does well, it's only going to benefit us going forward. We negotiated a rare sell on, so it's a massive deal, massive club for him. Nobody's going to hold that against him. It's a fantastic deal for, I'd say, everybody involved, to be honest, because Ajax are probably going to need him at the back, considering I think he'll play through the middle there. And with his pace, there's not going to be many people in Holland that will outpace him. Yeah,
it's a deal that needed to happen, just purely because, as I said, the board's been banging on about the player trading model, and it now shows that Rangers are a club that you can come to and you can go to move on to a club like Ajax and really progress your career. So, Chris, the next talking point is Ben Davies. He was unveiled with Malik Tillman before the game last night. Watched a wee bit of his interview on Rangers TV. I think like a lot of English players, he said the old, I didn't really know, everybody warned me that I wasn't going to be aware of the size of the club, but I think he'll soon find out. Have you been impressed by the way that the board basically brought in partial cover for Bassey and another centre half from Liverpool for what seems like quite a reasonable fee? And do you think he'll start?
Yeah, I think he'll definitely start. We're not going to be spending 4 million. It's a lot of money for a club like us to spend on a guy that's not going to play. I think we spent a similar fee on Goldson. So I think they're looking for a left-sided Goldson, basically. And if he can put in 7 or 8 out of 10 performances every week like Goldson does, then we're on to a winner. I haven't ever seen him play, but apparently he's a good ball carrier, good at passing it for the back. And I think obviously we've seen how we played last night. That's what Gio's going to be looking to do, I think. So I don't know if he's a replacement for Bassey. I think Bassey would have been out on the left. I think maybe the new guy we're linked to will be the replacement for Bassey. But I think it might spell the end for Hollander, in my opinion. But
I think you're not far away from the truth there as well. We've got 6-7 centre halves now effectively, and I think a couple of them are going to get shipped out if that's on loan or they get sold. Right, the last point, Reece. Chris touched on it a wee bit there. Ridvan Yilmaz from Besiktas. There seems to be a wee bit of chat about him at the moment. Just a couple of things on him. He's had about 50 appearances for Besiktas, scored 4 goals, and he's had 5 caps for Turkey. Fee reported to be that Besiktas are looking for around €6 million for him. Do you think this is the type of player that we should be looking at? And have you watched the YouTube video of him yet? And what's your thoughts on signing a guy like him?
I've not seen anything on him, to be honest with you. I've seen obviously the reports and the links today. To be totally honest with you, playing left back for Turkey isn't that great an achievement for me personally. I backed them in the last Euros and they were dug meat, but I think €6 million, and I say this to my pal today, €6 million for me is a lot of money for us to spend. I know we've just made a lot of money, but it's still going to be one of your highest ever spends on a player for that money. And is it a game winner? Is it going to be somebody that's the difference between winning the league and no winning the league? For that kind of money, that's what the expectations will be. I'm not sure a left back is worth that amount to a club like us. It might be the case that we bring somebody into transition that's better, but if he signs, I'll back him, and I'll totally support the board and the coaching staff and whatever decision they make, because they'll know what alternatives are worth as well, what the going rate is, and whether it's good value for money or not going forward.
Yeah, I agree with you to an extent there, but I think if 6 million's the fee and Gio and Boss and at the board basically think is going to make a difference, and we've got the money, I think we should go out and spend it. But that just about wraps it up for tonight. I think we've fit in quite a lot there and hopefully done it justice. I'd just like to thank Chris and Reese for joining us tonight. As always, just remember that we've got our show live bulletin on Friday with Adam and the podcast on Sunday with Scott. One on Fridays at 7 o'clock, one Sunday at 8 o'clock. Just remember to find us on all the usual channels and you can get all the latest Rangers news from This Is Ibrox. Remember, we're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Remember to give us a like and subscribe. Thanks everybody for watching again, and we'll see you again soon.